Right now on Thornton360, what you need to know about Thornton's water rates and the positive future for Thornton's water supplies. Plus, easy ways to save water and save money on your water bill. This special edition of Thornton360 starts right now. Hello and welcome to Thornton360. I'm Todd Barnes. The City of Thornton enacted a financing plan in April to meet the current and future needs of the city's water utility. The plan will provide funding to ensure the city can continue to provide a healthy and plentiful supply of water for businesses and residents now and into the future. The plan includes an increase in water rates that begin May 1st. Joining me now to tell you what you need to know is Thornton Finance Director Chuck Seast. Chuck, thanks for joining us. This is a great topic to talk about. Council recently approved some new actions that are going to benefit the community for a long time. Tell us about the new financing plan in place and what some of that money is going to go towards.
Certainly, Todd. Yes, we've been excited to see that the council did step through here recently and approved a financing plan and water rates that go along with that financing plan. Some of the key items that the water utility will be replacing include the original Thornton treatment plant. That treatment plant is over 50 years old, and while it has served the community well, it is well overdue to be replaced. Now that will have a price tag of anywhere between $75 to $80 million. That is something though that we will deliver to the community here within the next 3 years. And so they will be able to rely upon that for delivery of water. In addition to that, we have a project that is several decades in the making. From its inception, the community has always taken responsibility with its planning. And in doing so, whether that is for the code and the buildings and the businesses and the residential developments that have occurred in the community, it also pertains to the utilities. And as most people are aware, water is a vital commodity for both residents and businesses. As a result, Thornton has prided itself on doing diligent planning, and at this junction, it is ready to bring down water resources that the city owns in northern Colorado and bring that to the community here in Thornton to serve a population that will be growing, expanding, and it's just an exciting time for our community to embark on this project.
Something that a lot of people may not know is that city leaders way back in the 80s, they foresaw a day when this was coming, and they knew they needed the water, and they've said, you know, we need this water, and they purchased those rights in the 80s, and it's now time for that water to come down here for this specific project, correct?
That is correct, Todd, and they did have that foresight, the leadership in the community at that time, and successive councils and leadership have also supported that vision for this community. And so now we're at that point that it is time to operationalize and build the pipeline that will deliver the water to the community. And the reason we find that critical at this time is, as the community is aware, the economy's been improving, growth is happening here in the North Metro area, and as that occurs, that didn't come by surprise. The city council and leadership anticipated that level of growth to occur. And where we find ourselves now is, in order to meet the needs of that population, as well as provide a higher quality of water to our current population, it's time to begin that project. The engineering firm that we've hired, an expert in the field, recognized nationally as well as worldwide, they're telling us that that project's going to take about 10 years. And we estimate that the population that is needing that water will achieve that threshold of growth about the mid-2020s.
And I think one important thing for us to let people in the city currently know is that they're not just the ones bearing the brunt of any rate increases. Any growth that comes into play now is going to be paying its own way through this process. Is that correct?
That's an excellent point. As we sat down with our experts, our rate consultants from the outside, and they too are nationally and worldwide recognized experts in that field, we tried, and part of the guidance here was to craft a financing plan that put the least amount of burden on residents. Because residents, for the most part, are paying for the operating system, the water utility that is currently operating. Growth needs to pay a significant piece of what's going to happen. So when we put together a financing plan, it was key to us to make certain that the elements related to growth were assigned to growth in that funding plan. And that's what we arrived at. So when people look at the financing plan that's available on our website, what they will see in that plan is that growth pays a higher amount percentage-wise than what the current residents do.
Yeah. I was present for the council meeting where all the details of this plan were discussed, and it's important for us to tell people that if they actually want to see the public hearing where that took place, where the details from all the experts was presented, that is available on the city's website at www.cityofthornton.net. But you and I are kind of talking about a little bit condensed version of that right now so that it's a little easier for people to understand. Let's talk about single family housing and stuff and what they're going to see as far as changes to their water rates and their water bills. What's kind of give just an example of what the impact will be for the average house.
Right, for the average house, what we've looked at and determined is that, for one, our history has been to just have rate increases for the past couple of decades that have been in line or actually less than what inflation has been over the last 20 years. And so now that we're at the precipice of stepping into these significant projects, rates did need to increase. And as a result, what the average house will see is currently that average house is paying a bill of a little more than $41. This first year, after the initial increase, they will be paying something closer to $50. And while that is a significant percentage, it's about $9 a month. And so we like to look at that and compare that to other commodities that household budgets are purchasing. And so, you know, if the household, if the two or three people were to go out for coffee, they would probably drop that amount there. If one person was to get a combo meal at a fast food restaurant, they would probably lay down that level of dollars. And then, you know, if they were at a grocery store, I'm estimating that would be equivalent to, you know, a gallon of milk and, you know, a couple dozen eggs. So it gives them a sense. We've been cognizant of that and tried to. And the other thing I need to point out is that even after that, Thornton's rates were at the lower end as compared to our neighboring communities. Even after this increase, we're still in the middle range as compared to our surrounding communities.
Sure. I think that's an important thing for people to know, is that we did go out and compare water rates with our surrounding communities to find out where we were and where we were going to be, and we're still in the middle of the pack, and that's important for people to know.
It really
we don't
is.
have the highest in town, we don't have the lowest in town, but we're right in the middle there. And we've also come up, you worked with some of our consultants to come up with a great tool for people. Not everybody has the same water usage, but we've got a great tool that people can use to find out what their water rate's going to be, and, you know, even help them decide whether there's some opportunities to save water and reduce their bill. Can you tell us about the water calculator?
Yeah, Todd, that's an excellent point. What we worked closely with the rate consultants on was coming up with, we call it our water bill calculator. I can speak in averages, and that might mean something to that household that falls within that average, but just like anywhere else, no one is exactly average. And so we felt it was important that customers be able to have a tool to engage their account, manage that account, and then also address issues that might help them reduce their usage and actually lower their bill or move it to a place that's more consistent with their household budget.
Or even just plan for it.
Exactly, just plan for it as they come forward with the irrigation system. And with the irrigation season, excuse me, coming up here shortly. The other item too is that we also continue to have tools such as budget billing that allows them to have the exact same bill every year. Other utility providers have something similar in that vein that allow customers to pay the same amount as opposed to the high season. In our case with water, that tends to be the summer, and as opposed to the Xcel or the gas company where it would be the winter. But we felt that that water bill calculator, and that's available on our website as well, will allow our customer to go in, enter their account number, and then see what this impact will be to their bill this summer, and then respond accordingly and move over to address Thorntonwater.com where they can come up with ideas for conservation and better ways to manage that bill.
One of the things Thornton is known for is one of the most comprehensive water conservation programs in the metro area. Thorntonwater.com, as you mentioned, is a great place for people to visit to find out more about conservation, but Thornton's got a really good history and good participation from the residents and businesses here. And we're hoping that people will take further advantage of that. Is that right?
Yes. In our history, we are known for our conservation efforts as a community. And as a result of that, we actually have been able to keep those rates in line as a result. But we always recognize that with regards to conservation and living here on the Front Range, that has to be forefront for our community and for residents and businesses as they engage their water usage. So while we're a leader in terms of our gallons per household usage, we would like to see enhancements occur in that arena as well. And our website has several ideas that residents and businesses can look at there, specifically as it relates to the irrigation season coming up.
Sure. Just as background for a lot of people, let's talk about the Thornton Water Project a little bit.
Okay.
The water rights, I happen to know a little bit about this too. The water rights that Thornton owns are in northern Colorado on the Cache-la-Poudre River, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and that will be where a pipeline roughly originates and moves its way down to Thornton, is that correct?
That is correct. Currently the ditch company that the city participates in takes its water off the Poudre around Ted's Place, if people are familiar with Larimer County or northern Colorado. And then it moves through currently an irrigation system, a series of ditches, over to farms that the city also owns in both Larimer and Weld County. So at some point along that open ditch system is where the pipe will be placed that will then draw the water off to come and deliver it to the community here in Thornton.
Now let's just talk about the quality of that water. It's kind of unique. One thing that people don't know is that basically every community in the Front Range takes their water from far away. We aren't unique in this in any way. We
really aren't. I mean, for residents or individuals that have located from elsewhere within the United States, they're probably more used to lakes and rivers and having water systems where water gets drawn off and water gets placed back into a river and moves forward. Here in Colorado, in the west particularly, being a semi-arid region, we don't have really well water available. So the primary source for both ourselves, Denver, and Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, communities up and down the Front Range is surface water. And as a result, each of the communities belong to ditch companies, and that's where their water comes from. So in Denver, you know, Lake Dillon that most people are familiar with up in I-70, that's where their water comes from. We currently receive our water from Stanley Lake, but that comes off of Clear Creek, and we also draw water off the South Platte River. But what's unique here with the Cache-la-Poudre River is that those other sources of water are located in areas that have already passed significant urban areas. And so, unlike those water sources, the Cache La Poudre water is being drawn off before it even enters the city of Fort Collins. So, outside of the wildlife up the Poudre Canyon, there really is not a whole lot of engagement with that water from an urban perspective. Yeah. And so that is a higher quality of water as a result of that.
Sure. And pipeline projects like this are not unprecedented. Colorado Springs and Aurora and Denver,
yes,
for that matter, all have had similar projects, correct?
They have. I mean, in order to deliver water from where it's located to the communities, it's been incumbent upon those utilities to enter into these large projects, these multi-year projects at significant dollars in order to provide water to their respective communities.
The city also understands there are a lot of people who just can't afford water, but they have to have water in their homes. So that just affording it can be a challenge. But the city's taken some good steps to make sure we can help those people. Tell us about the Thornton Assistance Program.
The council took it upon themselves to recognize that within the community, within every community, that there are households that just providing for their daily needs is a significant challenge. And we in no way wanted to harm those households. We want them kept whole throughout this entire process. So as a result, the council took it upon themselves to increase the amount of funding that was put into the Thornton Assistance Program so that none of those households would be hurt. So even though we are talking in terms of percentages, double-digit rate increases for a couple of years here, we have increased the amount of funding per qualifying household to keep those households whole throughout this period. And it's important that people really check into that, because unlike other assistance that households in that situation need to pursue, the Thornton Water Assistance Program has more generous provisions. So whereas they might not qualify for either food stamps or LEAP or other programs, they will likely qualify for our program. So I would strongly encourage households and residents that find themselves close to that to really seek that out and pursue that program so that they're kept whole throughout this process.
Yeah, and information for that is available on the city's website, but they also can just call the phone number on their utility bill.
That's correct. And all of the utility billing specialists are well versed in that program, and they're available and ready to assist customers in getting into that program and receiving that assistance to their household to keep them whole through this entire process.
Good. Chuck, thank you very much. This is important information for us. I hope everybody learned a little something today, and if you have more questions, please feel free to reach out and call the utility billing experts. They are really well versed in answering all of this information. And now we're going to go talk a little bit more about conservation with Lisa Wilson.
We're walking along Signal Ditch here in Thornton. Laura Wing of Thornton Water Conservation joins me now. Laura, water rates in Thornton are going up, and that's a great time for people to, in an effort to save money, they can save water. So tell me, let's talk about some of the best and easiest ways to conserve water, and let's start with smart irrigation. Tell me about that.
Okay, well, Thornton offers up to $400 for a rebate on a smart irrigation controller, and that is one of the easiest ways to change the way you're watering your yard, for residents to change the way they're watering their yards. It basically changes the irrigation schedule on its own depending on the weather. So that takes out you having to change your irrigation controller monthly.
And so that would prevent if it was more moist, then you wouldn't keep overwatering. So it would respond to that. And
Correct.
how do you find these smart irrigation controllers?
You can find the qualifying irrigation controllers on thorntonwater.com. Just download the application for the rebate there, and all the information's there.
Okay. That sounds good. And once you get your smart irrigation controller, then you want to water how many times per week?
We recommend 2 times a week, no more than 2 times a week, most of the summer, because the deep, infrequent watering really helps improve drought tolerance of the yard. So if it does get hot, the roots are nice and deep in the soil, and the lawn is healthier and can respond better to changes in temperature.
Okay, and tell me about cycle and soak.
Cycle and soak is a technique that we recommend to use with that 2-day-a-week schedule, and it basically is splitting up the watering cycle into 3 different cycles, shorter cycles. So if you had a 15-minute cycle on its own, you would split it up into 3 5-minute cycles, and with an hour in between each cycle to give the water time to soak into the soil.
And that benefits your yard in deeper roots, stronger?
And that does the same thing as the deep, infrequent watering. So we recommend that 2-day-a-week schedule goes right along with the cycle and soak method.
Okay, and so if people want more information on water conservation, where can they go?
Thorntonwater.com has a lot of tips and videos and our rebate applications, all the information you need to reduce your water usage this summer. And our phone number is 720-977-6600.
Okay, thanks. Laura Wing, Water Conservation, Thornton Water Conservation, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Cycle and soak is my favorite harmony. Hitting the lawn in 1-3 time. It's like conducting an orchestra. And from the looks of that lush green grass, your lawn doesn't seem to mind it either. Get a greener lawn with less water by breaking the amount of watering time for each zone into 3 shorter cycles. Learn more at thorntonwater.com.
That's it for this special edition of Thornton 360. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.